What's this? A letter for me.
Welcome to a historic 100th episode of Remember the Greats Through the Mail Thursdays. I'm not going to talk too much about the significance of this video, other than the fact that for 100 consecutive weeks, I have given the YouTube world Through the Mail Thursdays, and it has been an utter joy for me. I appreciate every single subscriber and every comment that is made on this video series, and I hope to have 100 more episodes, and in 2 years I'm standing here telling you the same thing again, how grateful I am for every subscriber that I have. The last thing I want to say before we jump right into the envelopes is this is a passion of mine, and I hope that I share that with you, that this is strictly a hobby, and I want to share this love of the hobby with the universe, so to speak. So that is primarily what this is about. With that being said, I have 3 envelopes here. One is an oversized envelope, so I know exactly who it is, and that's why I kind of held it back just for this special event. However, the other 2, not too sure who they are. So we're just going to rip right into those, and we're going to jump right in. Okay, so this first one is postmarked from Florida, and it is on a original 1951 Bowman card, and it's a one-of-one success. I picked this card up, I don't know, about a year or 2 ago, and I've just been sitting on it, and I'm like, well, the odds of me finding another card of Mr. Judson, Howie Judson, sorry, guess I should tell you who it is, right? And I thought, well, the odds of me finding another Howie Judson card at this point are pretty slim. I mean, if I fall into it, probably the next time I go to a card show, I'll find like 3 of them now. That's usually how my luck works. However, Mr. Judson is 94 years old, so I knew I have a limited window to maybe get this card signed. So I thought, just stick it in the mail, write him a nice letter, see what happens. So a one-on-one success from Howie Judson on a 51 Bowman. As you can see, the card's not in the best shape. There's quite a lot of extensive damage, and somebody actually wrote Reds on the back, because he was traded to the Reds. So let's talk a little bit about Howie Judson. So Judson, a Illinois native from Hebron, Illinois. I actually know where that is. They're actually famous for having a almost Hoosiers-like basketball team that made a run at the state title many, many years ago. There's a great book that I bought for my father highlighting that. I never read it myself, but I gave it as a gift to my dad, and he said he enjoyed it. He was drafted by the Chicago White Sox. It said he spent time in the United States Navy during World War II, so that kind of delayed his career a little bit. However, in total, he spent 14 years in professional baseball. At the age of 22 years old, he was up with the Chicago White Sox. He posted a 4-5 record in 1948 with the White Sox with a 4.7 ERA, appearing in 40 games and making 5 starts. However, the next year, I talk about players' best years. Well, this is by far players' worst year. In 1949, Howie had a 1-win and 14 losses record in 26 games, and 12 of those games were started for the White Sox. So he went 1-14 for the 49 White Sox. Now, you would think after the first couple losses, maybe you might try to figure something out. But apparently, it worked out the next year, because I don't know if an arm injury or a mechanics thing was the problem, but the next year he went 2-3 and had a 3.94 ERA in 46 appearances. So 1949, not a good year. 1950, a pretty decent year. Well, he spent 1951, which is the card there, with the White Sox, and again, appeared in 27 games, started 14, and went 5-6. 52, he also spent, appeared in 21 games. However, in 1953, after the 52 season, he was sent to the Reds to complete a player to be named later type of thing. He spent the 1952 season between AAA and the majors with the Reds. His 53 season, he was 0-1 in 10 appearances with an ERA close to 6. Well, in 1954, he got another shot with the Reds. However, he went 5-7 with an ERA under 4, which was, decent again. However, that would be his last year in the major leagues. After the 54 season, he was purchased by Seattle of the PCL, where he spent one season in the PCL playing before he came back in 56 to play for the Reds minor league system. And then he spent some time with the Philadelphia Phillies AAA affiliate and the Chicago Cubs AAA affiliate, and after the 1958 season, called it a career. So, Howie Judson, thank you very much for signing this 51 Bowman. I could probably count on one hand how many people are still living in this 1951 set. Well, maybe two hands. But, I saw an opportunity to get this card signed. I thank you very much, Mr. Judson, for doing so. All right. So, this next one is postmarked from California. And this is also a player from the 1950s. And this is Don Ferrarese on 1, 2, and 3. This time I was able to track down 3 cards for him to sign. Very happy. All, different years, 57, 58, and 59 tops. Ferrarese was a left-handed pitcher. Stuck around for a pretty good amount of his career, but the added bonus to this is he sent a book advertisement, also signed, and on the back is information about ordering. I will post that website down below so you can just click on it, but there's also an address that you could write to. But the book, I'm out looking to get in this book, is what I'm trying to say. So thank you, Mr. Ferrarese, for signing that. Let me get the glare off of that a little bit there. And we'll talk a little bit about his career. So Don Ferrarese was a left-handed pitcher, only standing at 5'9", 170 pounds, and they actually nicknamed him the Midget because of his small stature on the mound. He spent quite a significant time in the minor leagues. However, his career was interrupted as he served in the military from 1951 to 52. He did not play from 1951 to 1954 in baseball. In 1955, he returned with the Baltimore Orioles in their AA affiliate, and he went an immaculate 9 wins and 0 losses with an ERA of 1.48 and 12 games for the Orioles. Well, in 1955, they gave him a call up and he appeared in 6 games for the Orioles that year. Well, in 56, he was part of the Orioles pitching staff. However, he only went 4-10 and started 14 games. He spent 1957 both between the minor leagues and the majors. However, after the 57 season, the Orioles decided to trade him to the Cleveland Indians for Bud Daly, Dick Williams, yes, that Dick Williams, the Hall of Fame manager, and Gene Woodling, along with Larry Doby. He went to Cleveland in the deal. He spent the 58 and 59 season with Cleveland, and he posted some pretty decent numbers, both starting and coming out of the bullpen for the Indians. However, after the 59 season, he was traded to the Chicago White Sox, where he would spend most of his 1961 season or 1960 season in their AAA affiliate, only appearing in 5 games in 1960 at the major leagues. Well, after the 60 season, the Philadelphia Phillies purchased the contract from the White Sox. He spent the entire 61 season with the Phillies and was going into the 1962 season and was traded in early April to the St. Louis Cardinals in 62. Well, after the 62 season, he played for the Cardinals and appeared in 38 games and posted a 2.70 ERA out of the bullpen. However, he was then traded to the Houston Colt 45s, the expansion team. However, after the 62 season, I do not see any record of him playing. So I'm guessing at 34 years old, he decided to call it a career. So after his playing career, I don't know much about what after he did, but according to this, he set up a foundation, and essentially he awards scholarships through this foundation, for kids to go to college, which I think is very admirable. So very happy to add another old school 1950s pitcher to my collection. I've never gotten him before, so very happy to get him back in the mail. All right, so this next individual in my long envelope is postmarked from St. Louis, Missouri, and I know exactly who it is. I already opened it up, but I had heard that he had a little health scare a couple months back, and he just recently turned 88 years old, and I thought, for the price and the donation and being a Cardinals fan, I think I should try, stick a few bucks in the mail to the guy and ask him to sign these. And who am I talking about other than Whitey Herzog on one oversized card, and two, a St. Louis Cardinals promo set from back in the 80s. And as you can see, these are oversized cards. The Action All-Star and the Whitey Herzog there. And I did include a donation with the success. I sent $10, so $5 per autograph, care his home address, and I received these back in probably less than a week with that donation. So as you can see, signed in nice blue Sharpie. Very happy to get these back. I have met Whitey a couple times in person. I'm from Southern Illinois. He is also from Southern Illinois. So probably 15 to 20 years ago, we happened to cross paths, and I got him to sign a couple things in person for me as well. However, I just never have had a chance to see him again, and I really wanted to get these two items signed by him, so I thought, why not stick them in the mail? Let's see what we get back. So let's talk a little bit about Whitey Herzog. I'm not going to bore you too much about his career because he's a very well-known Hall of Famer. However, I wanted to save this one for my 100th episode, because if Mr. Herzog ever sees this, or his family, I just want them to know how important the St. Louis Cardinals were to me during this era. Meaning, growing up in the St. Louis area, watching Whitey Herzog as the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals, I was a kid with stars in my eyes. I was so awestruck by the St. Louis Cardinals then. Whitey was let go, obviously, in the early 1990s from the Cardinals position. However, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2010. He still maintains his residence, in the St. Louis area, still to this day. And the reason I held this back, this long envelope, was because I wanted to do something special for my 100th episode, and this is that special. So, Whitey found success. He was originally a player, played in the 1950s through the 60s, became a coach, worked his way up through the ranks, found some very good success with the Kansas City Royals in the 1970s. I've actually talked to a former player of his, a long-time Kansas City Royal, and I asked him a simple question. I said, who's your favorite manager to play for in your because most people are like Dick Hauser, whatever. And he's like, actually, Whitey Herzog was the most enjoyable manager I ever played for. And I'm not going to name who that was, but this is somebody that played like 20 years for the Kansas City Royals. And I just asked him that question once, and he talked to me for 25 minutes about Whitey Herzog. And that was an experience I'll never forget either. But after the Royals let Herzog go, he went to the St. Louis Cardinals to try to build a championship. 1982, he succeeded in that. The Cardinals returned to the World Series in 1985 and also in 1987. However, they came up short, only winning the National League those 2 years and not winning the World Championship. This is prime time when I was watching the Cardinals, 85, 87. I'm a little bit too young to remember the 82 season, of course. He was let go early in the 1990 season, I believe. And he also had a lot of administrative duties with the Cardinals as well, meaning he had a lot of involvement in the front office. For example, if it wasn't for Whitey Herzog, guys like Ozzie Smith never would have been a Cardinal. You know, guys like Willie McGee wouldn't have became the player that Willie McGee became because Whitey Herzog was a huge influence on their careers. So, in closing, I just want to again thank everyone for tuning in for my 100th episode. It has been a thrill for me. It's been a roller coaster ride up and down. But the one thing that I have shared with some people, you know, that I've never met before, but I've met through YouTube or through the internet, is no matter what, I always make sure there's a Through the Mail Thursday every week on my channel. I've gone through some bouts of some health issues, and despite that, I still have made sure that video gets posted. So, thank you very much again, my audience. I care about each and every one of you. If I had the time to sit down and talk with each and every one of you, you know how I like to be long-winded and tell stories, I would do that with you sometime. And I hope someday that I get to meet some of the people that comment on my channel. I thank you again for tuning in for the 100th episode of Through the Mail Thursdays. Thank you so much, everyone, and let's shoot 100 more. In closing, thank you, Mr. Herzog, Mr. Ferrarese, and Mr. Judson for signing my cards. All of you will forever be immortalized on YouTube on the Remember the Greats Sports channel. Thanks for everyone tuning in, and happy collecting.